Trump, Putin, Russian collusion.
Trump, Russian sort of collusion.
Trump, Russian, possible collusion.
Bullshit.
Trump, Russian, medical collusion.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian, potentially collusion.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian,
Bullshit.
Trump, Russian collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Russian hacked our election. Here comes a big change. Because all of a sudden, Trump, Russian possible collusion.
Bullshit.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian, possible
Bullshit.
collusion. Trump, Russians,
Bullshit.
Collusion with the Russians. Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Bullshit.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Bullshit.
Prove
Bullshit.
collusion. Prove
Bullshit.
collusion.
Was there collusion?
Bullshit.
Absolutely.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Bullshit.
Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Bullshit.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, potential collusion. Trump, Russia, potential collusion.
And the Kremlin and be in collusion with Putin and the Kremlin and be in collusion and Putin and the Kremlin and be in collusion with Putin and the Kremlin
are very worried.
in collusion. This president in collusion with Putin and the Kremlin and be in collusion. This president in collusion with Putin and the Kremlin
are very worried.
in collusion.
All 17 intelligence agencies.
17 agencies.
17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed.
17 different United States intelligence agencies.
17 of them. Hospital tested, clinically proven bullshit.
Are you fucking getting it?
People are very worried.
You can't tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman's man. No time to talk. Music loud. Women walk. Being kicked around since I was born. Never tolerate. Hands on head. And you may look the other way. But we can try to understand. And do your time to make no man. Whether you're a brother or whether you're another, you're staying alive. Staying alive. We're the city breaking and everybody shaking. And we're staying alive. Staying alive.
You know, this lady might be onto something with this one.
Can you imagine if a government operated so poorly they had to import an entire nation of new voters because they lost the citizens' vote? Wait.
This world is not meant for you. Run, boy, run. They're trying to catch you. Run, boy, run. Running is a victory. Run, boy, run. Beauty lies behind the hills. Run, boy, run. The sun will be guiding you. Run, boy, run. They're trying to stop you. Run, boy, run. This race is a prophecy. Run, boy, run. Break out from society.
We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So with American pride swelling in our hearts and American courage stirring in our souls, I say these words to you tonight. We will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again.
want to ask about your accusations this morning about Walls, about the abandoning his fellow soldiers.
Yeah.
Are you basing that on anything more than a Facebook post? And how do you feel about? I mean, these are, as you know, serious accusations.
Sure.
As well, like, I mean, your running mate has faced similar accusations about avoiding service because of bone spurs. Do you think that is accurate and fair to for Trump to face?
Well, look, the difference, Mike, between what President Trump has said and done and what Waltz has said and done is that President Trump didn't lie, right? President Trump did not serve in the United States military. He's never claimed that he did. Waltz did say on camera that I carried a gun in a war. Well, which war did you carry a gun in? Because you apparently never went to a war zone. That is a totally reasonable question to ask. And I think the evidence at this point is overwhelming that he lied about serving in a combat zone. By the way, I served in a combat zone. I answered the call. I've never lied about my military service. He clearly has. There was another quote I actually just saw a couple of hours ago where he apparently said that he fought in Iraq, or at least a journalist reported that he said he fought in Iraq. Well, if he said that, that is a lie. And we have to be willing to call people out. Lying about your military service in order to procure political points, that's really disgraceful conduct. It's a slap in the face to millions of American veterans, and I think it's totally reasonable to call them out on it.
You fought in Iraq?
I served in a combat zone. I never said that I saw a firefight myself, but I've always told the truth about my Marine Corps service. That's the difference between me and Tim Waltz.
I just want to make sure that you have not seen a firefight.
Thank you, guys.
When I walk on by, y'all be looking like, who's that guy? Got a CIB, Ranger SFMEOD. This is how I roll, salad bar bling be out of control. Fake shit in these big ass rolls, cause all this brass gets all these hoes. Girl, look at these medals. Girl, look at these medals. Girl, look at these medals. Spec ops. Girl, look at these medals. Girl, look at these medals. Girl, look at these medals. Spec ops. When I walk in the bar, this is what I see. Everybody stopping and staring at me. I got medals on my chest and I ain't afraid to show it. Show it, show it, show it. Stolen and I know it. Stolen and I know it. Yeah. When I'm on parade, I'm out there soaking up accolades. When you challenge me, I'll just blame PTSD. This is how I roll, yo Ranger S, it's time to go. We headed to the bar, baby, don't be nervous. No lines, no charge, or time of service. Girl, look at these medals. Girl, look at these medals. Girl, look at these medals. Spec ops. Girl, look at these medals. Girl, look at these medals. Girl, look at these medals. Spec ops. When I walk in the bar, this is what I see. Everybody stopping and staring at me. I got medals on my chest and I ain't afraid to show it. Show it, show it, show it. It's stolen and I know it. Stolen and I know it. Bigger, 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 bigger. Bigger, 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 bigger. Bigger, 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 bigger. Bigger, 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 bigger. Do the faker, man. I do the faker, man. Stolen and I know it. Girl, look at these medals. Girl, look at these medals. Girl, look at these medals. Spec ops. Girl, look at these medals. Girl, look at these medals. Girl, look at these medals. Spec ops. Yeah. Stolen and I know it.
Obama. 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 I'm taking our country back. This is for America.
NABJ conference, he was asked whether you'd be ready to assume the presidency on day one, and he responded by talking about how the vice president pick doesn't really impact the election outcome.
Sure.
Was that the response that you were hoping for from the former president?
Well, what the president has said, and I agree with him, is that most people are voting at the top of the ticket. Now, Tim Walz is a crazy radical, of course. He allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis, but most people are going to be voting for Kamala Harris or for Donald Trump. I think it was a common sense observation. He said it before I was the pick. He said it after I was the pick, and I think he's absolutely right. Now, I will say that on the vice presidential issue, it's interesting what Tim Walz says about Kamala Harris. Tim Walz is a person, again, who promoted rioters burning down the biggest city in his state. This is a guy who wants to give driver's licenses to illegal aliens. This is a guy who wants to take children away from their parents if those parents don't consent to sex changes for minors. This is a radical human being who comes from the far left wing of the Democrat Party. And what Kamala Harris is telling all of us by selecting Tim Walz is that she bends the knee to the far left of the Democrat Party. She's done it every single time in government. She's done it in who she selected as her VP nominee, and she will do it if the American people give her a promotion to President of the United States. We don't have to guess at what Kamala Harris believes. The fact that she keeps on leaning on the most far left people in the Democrat Party tells us exactly who she is and what she stands for.
Hello, public opinion aficionados, and welcome to Rasmussen Reports, the pollsters who can directly look you in the eyes and tell you we are not liars. We are not paid by anybody to shape narratives in this country. And in fact, if we are not accurate, our business ceases to exist. And that's why I think you should follow us and subscribe and listen to what we have to say about the 2024 election. And that is this: Trump is still winning comfortably in the national race, although maybe slightly less far ahead than he was just a month and a half ago. And that's what we're going to be covering today, an in-depth look at the crosstabs of our latest weekly 2024 election matchup numbers. But before we do, if you think all of a sudden that this race is running away from Trump, then you're probably the victim of an info op, one that unfortunately seems to have been very successful on many people. So let's talk a little bit more about that. This is the Real Clear Politics polling aggregate, and you should trust these people because they try and maintain standards in the polls that they put into the aggregate. And as you can see, like our polling showed, Trump was beating Biden pretty much at every point in time, going all the way back to October 2023. Now, I will say the accuracy of polls is a little bit looser this far out, October, November, December, January, from an election. And our polls did show in most cases Trump winning from 5 to 10 points. What I will say is that many mainstream polling organizations had a similar Trump lead as we did. So a lot of this time, Joe Biden had a really bad January. A lot of this time, Trump was winning. But if you see here around sort of the March time period, this is where there was a pretty big media push to paint Joe Biden as a success after his State of the Union speech. But you can see that was also pretty unsuccessful. There's probably a bunch of reasons why, not least of which is issues with his health and mental capacity. But he kind of stuck to this Trump +1 to 1.5 range until all of a sudden the debate happened. And it's almost like the entire polling industry turned on Joe Biden at once. But what I really want to show you is by going to the 3-month scale. This period here, Donald Trump was beating Joe Biden by 3 to 3.5 points. On July 15th, we put out a large 2,500 result likely voter national poll that had Trump +3, the exact same number as the aggregate. And that's because other pollsters, other corporate pollsters in the aggregate also showed that Trump was winning. Now, think back to all of the polling we've put out in the last couple of years. In not one single poll has Kamala Harris been more likable than Joe Biden, done better in a matchup than Joe Biden, or even was perceived to be more competent than Joe Biden. So in our opinion, if you switch the candidates, I would expect to see something like a Trump +3 or 4 lead. And what I have to tell you today is that Trump is winning the race right now.
Polls are made to
by
tell
3
you
to
what
4
to
points,
think.
and we're going to get into that. But what is
Not what
happening
people are
now,
actually
if we go to
thinking.
the Trump plus Harris numbers, is that the aggregate has swung 4 points left. There is a sea of blue here where there was not one in the Trump versus Biden races. And that makes absolutely no sense to us because, again, Kamala Harris is a worse candidate than Joe Biden. Joe Biden sailed to a presidency based on a massive history of public service and perceived competence. So why did this happen? Well, I can tell you our numbers here are still holding up the aggregate. There's a few other pollsters showing Trump winning. But in my opinion, the real issue is this. All of the sudden, a week after Kamala Harris got anointed, the polling industry got super uninterested in figuring out the state of the race. Everybody tripped all over themselves to poll between July 21st, when she was selected, and August 4th. There were a ton of polls and about as
50
many
years in
polls as
politics,
there
and
were
all
through
Biden
most
had to
of
show
June
was
and
mass
July.
black American
We're talking
incarcerations.
about, 8 to 13, 14 polls. Now, all of a sudden, and I will say that this chart was produced on the 14th. There have been another poll or two. But basically, in the last 2 weeks here, week and a half, there's been like 3 or 4 non-Rasmussen reports, national general election polls. It's almost like the entire industry went right into the field as soon as Kamala Harris was getting her bounce, liked the results they got, and then said, I think we're done here. And that's been pretty effective because what it's allowed them to do is flip the betting market because it's trading on old information. It's also allowed them to be very selective about what gets put into the national news media cycle. You can look at what happened last Sunday with the carefully selected 3 states that New York Times Siena put out that everybody was freaking out about. But at the end of the day, there have not really been that many polls put out. And in fact, in the last couple of polls that put out, we've put polls out showing Trump up. Fox News has put polls out showing Trump up. It's really not a clear Kamala Harris is leading narrative as the mainstream media would have you believe. And in our opinion, that's election interference. It extends to some extent to state polling as well. I took the time to count all of the state polls that were released on Real Clear Politics. And in the first 13 days of August, I picked 13 because their history only went back 13 days into July. In the first 13 days of August, there were only 28 state polls released, but in the last 13 days of July, there were 73 state polls released. And that's a really fascinating context when you see things like the fact that 2 pollsters just totally randomly decided to release results from Florida. And I will say that they looked like pretty low energy polls that showed that Donald Trump was winning by only 3 to 5 points. To me, that looks like a crazy coincidence in an environment where very few state polls are being put out. Why did people randomly decide to go into Florida all of a sudden? And it's not like there's been a news hook that Trump is hurting in Florida. And here's the deal. The last time we went into the swing states, I showed Trump up 5 in Georgia. There is no scenario where Trump is up 5 in Georgia and he's only up 3 to 5 in Florida.
They want conservatives to not bothering to show up to the
back
polls
to the aggregate
because
here.
there's no way
if
Trump
Harris
can
is
win.
really leading by 1 point.
They did the
which
same
she
thing
is
in
not.
2016.
Compare that to where Joe Biden was doing 4 years ago. Joe Biden was up 8. So that means Harris is doing 7 points worse nationally in all of the polls. In what scenario did Florida elect Donald Trump with like 4 to 5 points 4 years ago, and then go on to elect Ron DeSantis in like an upper double digits margin? And now, with Harris doing 7 points worse nationally, she's somehow competitive in Florida? That 7 points represents millions and millions of people across the country changing their mind from Democrat to Republican. Where are those people if they're not in Florida? They're definitely in Florida, as all of the increased Republican voter registration headlines would have you believe. Now, before we get into the crosstabs, here is a quick look at our overnight data results updated for last night's responses. And as you can see, Donald Trump has settled into a 3 to 4 point lead. Kamala Harris had a bounce. It's faded a little bit, but what is more accurate to say is that Donald Trump's numbers got a little bit shook and he has reverted back to the mean of where he was before. And let me tell you, this is a lot of polling results, and we are the only polling organization that's actually going to show you how the sausage is made. You are not going to get all the nightly data results from New York Times, Siena, from Pew, from Cook, who is out there releasing polls that have data that's 2 weeks old. Seriously, what is going on there? That is pretty questionable. But here are the crosstabs. Almost 1,900 U.S. likely voters conducted starting last Thursday and going all the way up and until Wednesday night. Here's the two-way matchup. Donald Trump is beating Kamala Harris 49 to 45. And if you look at the rounding, it's actually almost exactly 4 points.
Again,
Trump
I say,
is actually
polls are made
winning
to
among
influence
women
what people think,
and doing
not to
a little bit
represent
worse
what
among
people are
men in the
already
sample.
thinking.
But it goes back and forth. He's winning among Kamala. He's winning over Kamala Harris by 6 points among men. He's up 2 points among women. Slightly down among 18 to 39-year-olds, which is about where he's been. Doing very well amongst middle-aged voters. Again, normal. And Kamala Harris is most competitive among older voters. Donald Trump is winning pretty big among white voters, 12 points. Now, these black numbers have really sort of lasered in on about a 25 to 30% range. And, you know, we are not tuning specifically to get what we think is an accurate black voter result. So maybe we'll be a little off from this. But if Donald Trump gets anything north of 20, that's really bad for Democrats. Kamala Harris is only getting 2/3 of the black vote. Donald Trump's doing a little bit tighter with Hispanic voters in this sample, but he's still up by 2. But here are the party numbers. And Donald Trump, again, has a crossover advantage over Kamala Harris, although it's not as big as it has been. This is a 73-point lead among Republicans, but Kamala Harris has, 68-point lead among Democrats. I will say one of the main ways that we appear to differ from some of the other recent polls is that we do not show the surge in enthusiasm, at least recently in the last week or so, that other pollsters have seen. And we got to a point where Trump and Harris were at parity within their party, but Harris has faded somewhat. Donald Trump is winning independent voters by 9 points. And this is another place where we vary quite a bit from some of the recent Harris leading polls. I think Emerson had Kamala Harris beating Trump among independents. I will say in 2020, Joe Biden won independents by a lower double-digit margin, but also in our polling, Joe Biden won independents by a lower double-digit. I mean, we're pretty spot on with independents. We have not changed our methodology. That's one of the reasons that us telling you we are not liars is important. People are doing underhanded tricks with their weighting, with their sample methodology to get a shift that they want in the polling. All of them? Probably not, but some of them, and some of them get cherry-picked by the mainstream media. I have not shifted weightings between Biden and Harris. We have only slightly shifted weighting since the 2020 election. We have not changed our methodology in any particularly major way. So in our polling, independents have completely changed their mind in the last 4 years. Here are the multi-way numbers, and Donald Trump is still winning by 4 points, but it's actually closer to 3.5. I think it was just over it. So it's, I don't know, it's right in the middle of a 3 to 4 point lead that Donald Trump has. Kennedy's back up to 4 from 3. I mean, but it's still a really bad performance for him. And like we've said, none of these third-party candidates are really compelling for anybody. And it doesn't look like the multi-way matchup is really changing the results that much. It's moderated middle-aged voters a little bit. White voters are about the same. Black voters are a little bit less for Trump. Hispanic voters are now more for Trump than they were in the previous question. The crossover situation is about the same, and independents are now winning by 9 points. Oh, they're still winning by 9 points.
Obviously, this was
RFK
before Robert Kennedy
is down
Jr.
to
endorsed
5
Trump.
points among independents, only 7 points among 18 to 39-year-olds, 6 points among Hispanics. These numbers are all really bad for him. And somebody asked, a lot of people ask over and over, who does Kennedy hurt more? It's hard to say who he hurts more just by being in the race. But people who say they would vote for Kennedy in the multi-way matchup, in the previous question, 37% of those people voted for Donald Trump, and only 20% voted for Kamala Harris. So basically, it's like a 1.5 points that he takes from Trump and a point from Kamala Harris. Not a huge impact either way. And if you've been paying attention to the news, there was a report that came out that he actually went to the Democrats for a cabinet position, which I could have told you, and I probably did tell you in a previous video. Makes absolutely no sense, because his life's work with vaccine skepticism and government accountability message does not at all fit with the modern mainstream Democrat machine. Really not sure what the next couple of months is going to be like. I'm confident in what we're putting out, and I'll always be tweaking it to try and make it more accurate. We've been thinking about going to a D+3 weighting. Yeah, maybe I'll test it and see what happens. But it looks like for now...
Now they're trying to keep Kennedy on the ticket in key states to try to hurt
assassination
Trump.
Attempt.
Isn't that election
interesting
interference?
New vice presidential picks, and really it hasn't changed the race practically at all in our numbers. The fact that it's changed everybody else's numbers should be perceived as very suspect. And if you want to check it out on our Twitter feed right now at Rasmussen_poll, we just got a really great clip I did, retweeted by Cat Turd, which says in not so many words as this video, the exact same thing. The mainstream corporate media has been caught red-handed time and time again, shilling for the establishment. Why should their pollsters, by extension, be any different? If you have any thoughts on this topic, make sure you leave them in the comments at YouTube. I'll try and get to them, but our YouTube channel has been blowing up recently, and I really just can't keep up with it. But if you have any specific question ideas, or you see some other ideas that people post that you think are great, make sure you also like those comments so they float to the top and there's a better chance I'll see them. Subscribe while you're there, like the video, follow us at Twitter at Rasmussen_poll, and thanks for watching.
You don't have to lie about your service. And if you did not serve in a combat zone and you claim that you did under any capacity, that's a lie. And it's actually a slap in the face to all of us who actually did. And by the way, we're not going to criticize you in any way, shape, form, or fashion for being honest about your service, because service is service. But when you look at somebody that's now potentially could be the vice president of our country, and he can't tell the truth about his own personal service and about those that did serve in combat, and quite frankly, for those that served in combat that didn't make it back, like many of my friends, like many of my West Point classmates, like many that served in Afghanistan, like there's 13 soldiers that did not come back after that disastrous Afghan withdrawal. When you think about those people that actually put their lives in harm's way, and you as a sergeant major or master sergeant served but chose not to go into combat, but the claim that you did go into combat is a complete abomination.
But I gotta ask you about Kamala Harris. How you feel about her?
She's a piece of shit. I was in California. She lacked professional competence, and she worked on it by hiking up her hemline when she needed influence rather than researching. I was out in California for 15 years doing my show when she was at her peak, and she had a reputation amongst the trial lawyers of being lazy. She just hike her skirt up and try to flirt, and she wasn't that good in the courtroom, if not pretty bad in the courtroom. So I'm not surprised at what she does. She's 60 years old, and I think listening to her word salad and the way she talks, I think she's got early onset dementia and also some problems with menopausal complications. That's that, you see, today is going to be tomorrow, so since it's going to be tomorrow, today we have tomorrow, which is why we are now. Like, what did you say? They have something in mind, but they cannot cognate getting all the way through it, which is why she's famous for this word salad garbage, and she doesn't make a bit of sense. I think since she's only 60, she's actually on a worse track than Biden was. Biden is 20-some years older than her, and he has been senile for a long time. Now, about 5 or 6 years ago, when did they start ramping up to do this? 2019. Okay, I was saying Biden has been a failure his whole adult career, a second-rate, third-string player. He's in the game, so he wants to make a name for himself. I considered him for years poor trailer park, urban trailer park trash. And he's a crook. He's a third stringer. Now, what I said he was going to
Judge
do
Joe
is
Brown
he
was a criminal
probably
court judge.
wants to claim fame for being the first person to see to it that a woman got to be president. And what I predicted, I'm slightly wrong on it, was that he was going to get in, try to get elected, and if he got one term, try to get elected for a second one. And then halfway through his term, when he had served 2 years, to retire or resign in her favor. So under the 22nd Amendment, what happens is she can serve for the final 2 years for somebody and then be elected twice more. So that woman would be able to serve 10 years, second only to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who got elected to 4 terms before they put the amendment in place so you couldn't. Now, that said, I think, and my major at UCLA was political science, my analysis is they picked the weakest somebody they could as a figurehead, somebody who had some apparent minority status, which she does not. And what goes on is that you get her, everybody that is everybody would be afraid to go against her because of what she can pass herself off as. And then you get somebody that's easy to control because she's lazy, because she is becoming incoherent, and because she's always tried to do the casting couch to get where she wants. Now, the problem is that'll get somebody to a certain level quickly. But you can't get past that level if you don't have competence and talent. So my thing about it is if I'm crude about it, in this city years ago, I used to represent a whole bunch of pimps and hoes, and I know a hoe when I see one. And I say this, I don't care, women, you do what you want to do if you want to have recreational sex, but when you do the casting couch or anything else for professional purposes to get paid or advance, you a hoe. And she's old hoe. And the problem is what is she supposed to do? Somebody, one of her sycophant slaves comes up and unwraps her in a carpet naked at Putin's feet, and he says, oh yeah, I'm Julius Caesar. He said, no, I got better stuff here already. Plus, I don't want you anyway, you old woman. Get on up, you know. Or Xi Jinping, is he supposed to be impressed? she's doing word salad. Well, we're here today because China and the U.S. are here today, and that's why we have to agree on what we're doing here today. Like, fool, what did you just say? You know, did you say anything? And I've never seen such a salacious mess as I've seen out of her. I think of One West Bank. I had some pretty good properties out in California at one point in time. And I know I had 3 neighbors who had good properties. It was in a place called Ojai, California. And they got caught up about 15, 16 years ago, like a lot of people did, in that mortgage bundling scam stuff that was going on. And there was a bank called One West Bank responsible for it, which was owned by George Soros. The Mnuchin that you have out of the Obama administration was Mnuchin, who was the CEO of One West Bank. Well, there were approximately 1,200 counts of indictments returned against Mnuchin and One West Bank in various counties in California. Well, Mnuchin and Soros financed and arranged and sponsored Kamala to run for Attorney General of California. They got her elected. She got in, and using the authority she had, she promptly consolidated all 5,200 counts and dismissed them. And a couple of weeks later, Soros sold One West Bank for $4.2 billion. So after that, they got together and got her financed and got everything organized and made the connections for her, and she got elected to U.S. Senator. Willie Brown made the initial contacts and arrangements so she could get elected as district attorney for San Francisco. She didn't do a very good job. She had a reputation for giving out the stiffest sentences in the United States of America for simple possession of marijuana in San Francisco, for God's sakes. But it was only to young black men. She's not a parent, never had any children, but she went off on this campaign to lock parents up, some of whom actually were shown to have dropped their children off at the school, but they played hooky, so she was putting them in jail. I know my in-laws, now late in-laws, because they're dead, and their fine daughter that I was married to, we were divorced. She got a whole lot of money, but anyway, out of me. What wound up happening was there was a liquor store they like to patronize on the way home, and it was a good liquor store, but it got held up a lot, so Kamala's solution was not go get the crooks, but close down the liquor store so nobody would be troubled by it. See, that kind of philosophy, or you've got a serial killer who's got 6 victims, and the families are writing protest letters to her, not hurry up and do something, not why you giving the guy such a light deal, is why don't you let this man plead guilty to life without parole instead of delaying it for 7 years, trying to make political hay out of it. I was caught up in a thing where this woman who was supposed to be a financial specialist wound up embezzling a lot, $1.5 million from me, about $15 million from some other black celebrities. And most of it was in the San Francisco area, not L.A. where I was. She consolidated the cases up there in San Francisco, took 5 years to resolve it, let her plead out not the $15 million of embezzlement, but $35,000. The sentence was 5 years in the penitentiary, 4.5 years suspended, 5 years probation. The woman wound up sitting on a bench outside Sybil Branch, which is the women's detention facility in L.A. County, for 5.5 hours. That's all the time she served, made no restitution. And la-di-da, I'm through with it now, I don't care, on her behalf. Like, where's our money? You know, what did you do here? You didn't even consult with us. You did this on a surprise basis. There's $15 million gone. What happened? It's the kind of thing she would do, see. So it's like, that was not a good professional performance. And then she was everybody's favorite Hindu Indian prosecutor and attorney general and senator, and now she becomes black. But, you know, I met her daddy, fine gentleman, Professor Harris. And the problem with her being black is Professor Harris says he's Caucasian, mixed Irish and Hindu. He doesn't have any black ancestors, but his Irish ancestors owned a lot of slaves in Jamaica and had them to work on plantation. So if mama is on the birth certificate listed as a Caucasian, daddy says he's a Caucasian Hindu and has no black ancestors, how did she get to be black? Now, a little side story. When I had my show, let's say this has been 26 years ago, I had two beautiful women that I thought were sisters on the show. And they laughed one time when we all went to a happy hour and said, "You think we're black, don't you?" "Yeah, aren't you?" "No, we're Hindu." One of them said, "My mother's a Hindu Brahmin caste. My father was Hindu warrior caste. He took an oath to the family to protect her. They fell in love, eloped, and now we got a death warrant on us. We can't go back to India." So, yeah, and then they gave me two books. The guys were Hindu, and they were very dark, but they cut their hair off close, grew beards, and started dressing and acting black, and they got financial aid. One of them, I think, went through medical school that way, masquerading for being black. Somebody else did it, so she went to Howard. And by the way, she told one big lie when she was talking about she got bust because of something Biden did when she was running against him. Well, the yearbook that she put out there that you can still get online from her high school in Canada shows she went from kindergarten through 12th grade in Canada, never went to school in the United States of America. She was born, by the way, in the same hospital that my ex-wife was born in, the same 12-month period, and my late mother-in-law was, in fact, a pediatric nurse in that hospital when Kamala was born. And the birth certificate that she has is interesting because the confusion comes from a mistake. On the birth certificate, it lists the mother's race as Caucasian, national origin India, and religion Hindu. For the father, it does not list national origin. It does not list religion. It does not list anything about that, but where it says race, they put national origin in Jamaica by mistake. Now, if you've ever been to Jamaica and you get over to St. Elizabeth Parish, you see all the high, bright, and white that live in Jamaica. So I've got a good friend retired from law enforcement. He has a white wife, blonde-haired, blue eyes, but she was born in Jamaica. Her parents were born in Jamaica. One's blonde and blue-eyed, the other one's red-haired and gray-eyed, and they happen to be related to the King of England because they are aristocrats in England, but they were born in Jamaica. So if you go over there, you see people from Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia, Kenya, South Africa, you name it. It's part of the British Commonwealth, and nobody needed a passport, and you could just go in and out. So it's not unusual. You're not black just because you were from Jamaica, and you have a whole lot of white people that never left, and their ancestors owned a lot of slaves. The Maroons went up into the hill country and got themselves free back in the 1840s, but you know, other than that, it is what it is in Jamaica. So just because you're from that country does not mean you are of the black race. So the problem is why don't you go get your daddy to give you an affidavit that you have a black ancestor? And since the only possible claim you have is through your great-grandmother, who he says was a Hindu house servant that just happens to be swarthy, where'd you get your blackness from? See, you're faking it again.
So what is ClickUp? ClickUp is an all-in-one productivity software where you can manage everything and anything.
And I say this after 50 years of experience, the worst human beings you will ever find are career prosecutors. something slimy about them. They are so turned off by humanity and everything else. They don't care. They're trying to win the game. It is just play to them. They don't give a damn about the people they represent. They just want to win. So they lie, cheat, steal to win the game. And that brings up the other thing, where the Supreme Court of California ordered her to produce the evidence that was exculpating to somebody sitting up on death row that she had hidden. They did that over and over and over again with her hiding this evidence. Now, there are exceptions to this
I'm
rule
not impressed
with career
with lawyers in
prosecutors,
general.
but if you ever
Most
want to sleazy
politicians are
somebody,
lawyers.
find yourself a career prosecutor who's never done anything else but that until they have moved up. Now, there have been people like Thomas Dewey, who was a career prosecutor. He got Lucky Luciano, the gangster that set up the mob as a syndicate, a business. He got him and became governor of New York and then an unsuccessful candidate for president twice. You have people like that, and you got Kamala, who was a career prosecutor. And that's essentially all she's done outside of moving directly over into politics. They tend to be crooks. They're not good people. It's like I used to, on the bench, it's like, excuse me, can you approach both of you? Do you have any character? Do you realize what you just did? Well, I mean, no, we can't have that. That is not going to be allowed up in here. You do it again, and the court's going to see to it that you get a 10-day paid vacation courtesy of the sheriff. No. See, and that's what I'm looking at. She wants to be chief administrative officer, but she's never been the boss over anything. She was nominally with the Attorney General's office, but you've got all of these egos with all of these people with doctorate of laws who've taken the bar exam, and every one of them in there could run against you in an election and be your boss, and is as qualified technically as you are to run the place. So she's never been the boss in charge of something where she dictated, because what she did in San Francisco and when she got over California is she essentially had somebody else doing it, and she was just a political figurehead. So when you come into this situation here, Putin, you know, Russia, Ukraine, those are serious things. They have a lot of nukes. You've got Xi Jinping, and China's got one hell of a huge army, Air Force, nukes, computer systems, and so on. What is your experience in international diplomacy? You got made the representative of the country to handle the foreign affairs. You failed so badly they yanked you out when you were actually the boss in charge. The borders are, you just complete abject failure to that. Your only appearance down there was to sit in a chair in the desert while they interviewed you, trying to be cute, flashing your pearls,
hey,
you know.
Loony leftists.
And you didn't do
your job. If Trump was working for Russia and China, why did they send the checks to the Bidens?
You want to legitimize 20 million aliens who've come in here and see that they get fast-tracked so they can vote and become part of the whole process. What are you doing? Whose jobs are you taking away? What about the people that actually lined up to go through the rules? You know, I want to become a citizen, so I take the courses. See, nobody's checking. They've got an outbreak of hepatitis. They got an outbreak of measles. HIV is ramped up. They've got all kinds of things. They've got problems with strains of tuberculosis that have no cure. So people before they come down with it, you have to put them on prophylactics for the rest of their life so they don't get a fatal illness that nobody can cure. So nobody is running the medical test. Nobody is checking to see what penitentiary they got out of. And something that is pretty real is a movie. You remember Al Pacino in Scarface? They dumped all their penitentiaries, and they're over here. You got all of these Latino gangs that are now infiltrated. You've got Ukraine. You've got Gaza. You've got people that hate the fact that they don't have technology to shoot down a B-1B bomber. So what do? They just walk across the damn border. Nobody's checking them. Somebody is giving them free transportation without even vetting their luggage. And in the luggage, they have military-grade explosives, which over the last several years, I'm sure they put in various building structures, hospitals, subways, and everything else. And on command, they flip the switch, and 911 looks like a Boy Scout meeting. So what are you going to do about these things? Nobody's checking. Stamps. You have a situation right now that has to be taken into context. Just about every major seaport is using these container removal cranes, these giant gantry cranes. They're made in the People's Republic of China. Nobody checked them, and now they went back and did, and there seem to be some things built into them that they can't remove. Don't know what the function is, but they appear to be communication devices. What the hell are those? You know, so you want to shoot down a B-1 bomber 56 miles from the southern border point where there is a huge illegal crossing. There is a U.S. Air Force base where 24 B-1 bombers stage out of. You can just surround a damn base with some RPGs and take a few of them out. We don't have but 24 of them that are operational, and some other was in long-term storage because we can't afford to operate the damn things. What are you supposed to do? That was your job. Did you do it? Did you handle it? No. So, you know, they've got this thing where sometimes they promote people up. You know, you fail at a job, but you got a rep, so they can't get rid of you, so they promote you. Like, for example, Halsey, Admiral Halsey. Bull Halsey, always charged off, was aggressive. Great in World War I, World War II, the first part of it. But there was a thing in the Philippines, well, not Philippines, Leyte Gulf. It was a disaster. The Japanese laid a decoy force out. He fell for the trap, took off with all of the warships, left the beaches totally unguarded, told nobody, and he should have been court-martialed. But because of his fame, they couldn't, so they wound up promoting him to 5-star admiral instead of court-martialing him and canceling him. So, I mean, they do this kind of thing. So it's not unusual. But I'm just saying, hey, if you're going to bring somebody in, bring in somebody that knows what the hell they're doing. Meanwhile, she had a little rally in Georgia. I think 86 people showed up. That was supposed to be interesting. And she had the nerve to call Vance unpatriotic. And he came back on her big time. He said, simplify, to serve, loyalty. I was in the Marine Corps over in the sand pile. And Trump took a bullet. What the hell have you done? You know, and you want to call somebody out on the subject. See, it's hypocrisy. But you see, I did this because I did what I did, and that's what I did, which is because that's why I did it. Hey, what the hell did you just say? Do you realize what you said? Do you know?
Dear Mr. Trump, God bless you, God loves you. You too survived a shooting. 5 years ago, on April 27, 2019, at my synagogue, a gunman came in and shot and killed Mrs. Lori Gilbert Kay, and I took 2 bullets, lost my 2 fingers, but I survived. The very next day, you called me and you shared with me words of encouragement and blessings that I'll never forget. Today, I'm thinking about you, the day after you were shot. I want to share with you that the day that you survived the shooting, just like I survived my shooting, is a new birthday. It's a day that God has shown you that you need to survive. The day you were born, God said, the world can no longer exist without you. The day you were shot yesterday, God sent you a message. Mr. President, you have a gift that God has given you to be a leader of the free world and to help the free world during these most difficult times. Just like right after the shooting, when I felt there was a cloud of darkness that entered our synagogue, I learned how a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. The same thing to you, Mr. Trump. God has preserved you. You have been saved by a miracle. To me, when the bullets came flying by me, it was 1 millimeter, a fraction of a direction of the bullet that could have shot and killed me and did not. The same thing with you, Mr. Trump. God guided that bullet away from you so that you can survive this. For me, it began a new life. It's what I call the bonus round. We have a new opportunity to live our life the way we need to be God's emissary to make this world a better place. The day that you called me right after the shooting, it brought me great comfort and consolation. I want to do the same thing with you and give you comfort and consolation so that you should know that God loves you, God is trusting you, that you would continue on being an ambassador for good, to help lead the United States of America and the world to better and greater times, to continue on protecting Israel and the Jewish people, and continuing in being God's partner in this world and making this world a better place. Mr. Trump, God bless you, and may God bless your success in all your endeavors. Consider yourself as lucky as I felt when I survived the shooting at our synagogue, how you survived the shooting. Surviving a shooting means that God tapped you on the shoulder and God told you, I love you. We all love you, and I wish you all the blessings from above, that God should inspire you for the rest of your life, that every day is a bonus and every day is a miracle. I love you. We all love you. God bless you.
Listen, man, I don't respect nobody with stolen valor. This man here exposed Tim Walz. He served with him. Exposed how he was a coward, how he quit the military, and he's literally going around promoting a stolen valor. If a person is operating in stolen valor or saying that they represent a certain position in the military and they knowingly and intentionally are doing it and never served in that position, they should go to prison for like 50 years.
He abandoned us, you know. I mean, what the hell kind of leader does that? I mean, he just, as soon as the shots were fired in Iraq, he turned and ran the other way and hung his hat up and quit. For him to be elected, they said right on there he's a retired command sergeant major, just tooting his own horn, just hanging on the coattails of people that actually are command sergeant majors that went through all the process and put all the time in.
This is stolen valor. Listen, man, I don't respect nobody with stolen valor. This man here exposed Tim Walz. He served with him. Exposed how he was a coward, how he quit the military, and he's literally going around promoting a stolen valor. If a person is operating in stolen valor or saying that they represent a certain position in the military and they knowingly and intentionally are doing it and never served in that position, they should go to prison for like 50 years.
He abandoned us, you know. I mean, what the hell kind of leader does that? I mean, he just, as soon as the shots were fired in Iraq, he turned and ran the other way and hung his hat up and quit. For him to be elected, they said right on there he's a retired command sergeant major, just tooting his own horn, just hanging on the coattails of people that actually are command sergeant majors that went through all the process and put all the time in.
This is stolen valor. Listen, man.
The people of this country are absolutely incredible people, and I am honored to be with you tonight. It's like this all over the place. We're going to take our country back, folks. We're going to take it back.
We are with you, sire, for freedom, to the death.
Man, I like that guy. Thank you, man. Thank you.
The establishment the media, the special interest, the lobbyists, the donors, they're all against me.
We calculate that Donald Trump taking over the Republican Party for the foreseeable future is a lot more dangerous to the future of the Republic than Hillary Clinton continuing us toward the cliff the way everybody else has for 4 years.
We're going to do the right thing for the people of this country for the first time, maybe in many, many decades. We're self-funding the campaign, no special interests, no donors. I don't think people really appreciate it because I see all of this money being poured into commercials and it's not their money, it's special interest money. And this is on both sides. This is on the Republican side, the Democrat side. These are special interest folks. These are lobbyists. These are people that don't necessarily love our country. They don't have the best interests of our country at heart. When you see the kind of deals made in our country, a lot of those deals are made because the politicians aren't so stupid. They're making them for their benefit. We have to stop it. We have to stop it. We are now going to make it for your benefit. We're going to make the deals for the American people. That's the way it is.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president. And the reason is because I have a lot of faith in the American people. And I think they recognize that being president is a serious job. And sometimes it requires you making hard decisions even when people don't like it. And standing up for people who are vulnerable but don't have some powerful political constituency.
So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
Radical Islamic terrorism. And I'll tell you what, we have a president that refuses to use the term. He refuses to say it. There's something going on with him that we don't know about.
Trump isn't going to shut the border. He's not going to fight the war on terror properly. He's not going to deport massive numbers of illegal immigrants. It's not happening.
We have to do something about it, and we have to start by building a wall, a big, beautiful, powerful wall.
And it actually will even look great. I already know what it should look like, because maybe someday they're going to call it the Trump wall, maybe.
Do you think your pathetic wall will do anything except fall like a heap of dried leaves in the face?
The wall just got 10 feet taller, believe me. It's got 10 feet taller.
You will pay for your barbarism!
I love my life. I have a wonderful family. They're saying, Dad, you're going to do something that's going to be so tough. We will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism. No American citizen will ever again feel that their needs come second to the citizens of a foreign country.
Good luck with that.
We're going to win. We're going to win it for the people. We're going to win it for our country. We're going to make America great again.
We march. For our lands, for our families, for our freedoms. We march.
Love him or hate him, America was at peace.
I was also the only president where Russia didn't take over a country during my term. I say, Vladimir, don't do it. You know, you and I are friends. Don't take over any countries because, you know, Moscow will be hit very hard. Well, I told him things. He probably didn't believe it, but you know what? He believed it 10%. And President Xi believed it when I talked about Beijing. He probably said, I don't believe him, but there's a 10% chance we're not going to do anything. I wish they could have been recorded, actually. People would think a lot of me. But with Bush, they invaded Georgia, right? With Obama, they took Crimea. With Biden, they're trying to take everything.
Listen, that's the great thing about results and numbers. Numbers never lie. There was no war, no nothing under this guy. Love him or hate him, America.
I don't know the exact terminology, but not Uncle Tom, but Uncle Tommy, or you were a complete sellout.
First of all, it sounded like that was a non-black person telling me that. So as a Democrat, that sounds pretty racial and pretty divisive. Next, it's...
I'm telling you, man, people are waking up. This video is brought to you by TatumStore.com. TatumStore.com. Y'all know where to get the merch link at. Like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell to get notifications. Anytime I go live or make a video, make sure you are still subscribed to my channel. Y'all know what to do. Let's get into this. All right, look. Michaela Montgomery obviously is a Blexit leader in Georgia. Some of you guys know that Candace and I both started Blexit. I think 2018 is when we started. 2020, it blew up. And we have about, I don't know, a leader in almost every single state in the country. And so I think it's at this point, you know, we merged with Turning Point USA, and now Turning Point USA with the resources can really better help grow Blexit the way it should be. But we have a bunch of incredible leaders at Blexit, and all of them I'm very proud of, and they're standing up and being able to have a voice. And that was the purpose of Candace and I making the organization or starting the nonprofit organization, because we wanted black people to have some platform to say, look, I'm not a Democrat. I don't believe in that. That's not my only option. I can be and say and be patriotic and love this country and love law enforcement, and I can do all those things, and I don't have to never have a platform because of that. You can have a platform with Blexit. Anyway, so the young lady right here, Michaela, she's a Blexit leader in Georgia and a director in Georgia. She's a state director. And listen to what her response to some fool calling in and pretty much calling her a racist. And saying that she can't believe the things that she believes. Roll the clip.
They're never going to let you in the club, okay? And you like the movie Django, you are the character of Samuel L. Jackson. I don't know the exact terminology, but not Uncle Tom, but Uncle Tommy, or you were a complete sellout.
First of all, it sounded like that was a non-black person telling me that. So as a Democrat, that sounds pretty racial and pretty divisive. Next, it's very interesting that I, again, would be called names or be compared to fictional characters because of who I choose to support. Again, these people who are calling and making these derogatory statements about me, who I choose to support, are denying the fact that, again, who are you to tell me that my personal experience is invalid? I think that that's something that a lot of Democrats need to look within, because how have you tried? Kamala Harris is in office right now and has not tried to do anything about the border, has not tried to not tax people on tips, and has not tried to do anything about our failing education system. So everything that she's promising she can do for you on day one, she could do right now, but she's not trying to. So that's something to, for some Dems to take home. So are you telling me that with all the black wealth that exists here in Atlanta, with all the black millionaires that live here in Atlanta, why in the world do 92% of APS students are illiterate? Make it make sense. And we have Democratic mayors, we have Democratic city council members, we have Democratic commissioners, and for whatever reason, 92% of the kids here cannot read. That statistic did not exist in Nevada. So again, I don't know if it was the fact that I got lucky. I can't say that, oh my God, it's the teachers that suck out here. I would never demean our educators here in Atlanta. But what we can acknowledge is the numbers, sir. And so while you want to call me not smart, please tell me what your side has done to fix the illiteracy rate that we see in our black children. Absolutely nothing. And in fact, not only have they not done anything to address the illiteracy issue, but then they're further confusing their kids by confusing your kids by telling them that men can give birth, by telling them that there's 53 genders, and that by telling them that your love for your best friend must mean that you are gay, you are a pansexual, asexual. Kids under the age of anything high school should not be thinking anything sexual, period. Sexual should not even be in their vocabulary. So for you to say that I'm not smart because I'm willing to call out all of the degeneracy that exists within our current education system only points to your lack of intelligence and your lack of initiative to actually do something in regards to saving our children and saving our schools.
All right. Boom. Somebody give a, oh, it's more. There's more. I got more in store. She got a longer form. This is just responding to the person that called in, but she got another video. We'll put her links in the description so you can go follow and support her online. I got some more. I want to play some more because she's a very smart young lady. And I love the fact that, you know, it's more and more educated black people that are of different backgrounds that are coming out and saying, look, man, the scales are off my eyes now, man. I can see. And I'm going to stand up for what I actually believe because I know it's true. Roll the clip.
And why do you personally support former President Trump?
I personally support President Trump due to my personal beliefs. So as a former foster child, I really love family. And I don't think that just because things didn't work out with my birth parents, that meant that I didn't deserve to be here. So that turned me kind of into a pro-lifer. I'm not the type to demonize people for the decisions that they decide to make, but me personally, if I'm going to vote for my personal views, I'm going to align myself with a pro-life candidate. Additionally, I am a mother now myself, so I do pay a lot of attention to the education that my child is receiving. And again, when I moved out here, I noticed the differences between the standards of education in Nevada and the standards of education out here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I didn't like how I came here and I felt like, not necessarily that I was smarter than everybody else, but I just felt like I was equipped with a better education than a lot of other people. And I don't know whether that be the allocation of resources. I don't know if it had something to do with property taxes. I don't know if maybe I just got lucky and had amazing teachers all throughout my life. But as a mother now, I think it's very important that parents have a say-so in their child's education and that parents can remain hands-on. For instance, I don't believe that there's 53 genders, and I refuse to allow my child to sit in a classroom in which they're going to tell her that that is what is true, and she will be tested on said thing and possibly failed if I tell her that there's only 2 genders, and I don't care what the teacher says. Lastly, as a single mother, as a woman who, you know, I think I'm gorgeous. So just being able to protect myself. Having my Second Amendment rights protected regardless. I do not want to live in a world in which your personal firearms are expected to be surrendered, because in a world like that, the only people who have guns are criminals and law enforcement. So if someone were to break into my home, which actually has happened to me recently, I wouldn't be able to protect myself. And whoever was breaking into my home would also know that. And the person breaking into my home would probably be equipped with a weapon, because just like drugs, if people want something that's illegal, they're going to get it. And so those are my 3 main reasons. Additionally, I have a brother that was formerly incarcerated, so he is now a returning citizen. And I think it's unfair that migrants can commit a crime by illegally migrating over here, and they get rewarded with the same resources that my brother would be turned down for. So my brother cannot get food stamps. My brother cannot apply for a luxury apartment. My brother cannot just go out for a corporate job without knowing somebody who knows somebody. Yet a migrant can come over here illegally and be awarded food stamps, be awarded housing assistance, be granted the opportunity to pursue a higher education, all of these things. Yet my brother, who was born here, bred here, when he worked, paid taxes here, he can't get those things, but a migrant can. So when I look specifically at policy and my personal experience, everything that I would want aligns with what I see on the Trump side.
the mic. It's off the mic. Very articulate. It's funny because people that, I'm not saying everybody that loves Trump can articulate what they like about Trump, but what I'm saying is that when they challenge young black people, I feel like black people have a real response. That's why they left the Democrat side. They're not leaving it because of emotionalism. Many black people have to have a real explanation and reason why they were going to leave the Democrat side. Many of them wake up to this stuff, and that's how they leave. But what she said was 100% fact. How could anybody argue with that? I didn't even think about the what they call it, reintroduction into society from a prison system. She said her brother gets out of jail. He's probably a convicted felon on his record, and he can't go and apply for an apartment.
I don't even know how to say it. I manifested a house.
Everything. And
he can't go and do some of these things. And the crime that he committed probably wasn't even a violent crime. It probably had something to do with drugs or something. And drugs, in many cases, is ambiguous in how people feel about its necessity to be enforced, right? So if you're selling marijuana, some people don't think that's a big deal. So how can you leverage a law for, say, you cross the border, that's an illegal border crossing. You're an illegal alien in our country. Because people feel some type of compassion for that, they somehow overlook the law. Well, why isn't it that if people can just overlook the fact that her brother probably went to jail for some drug offense, why can't people overlook that law? And he wouldn't even have a criminal record or anything if they overlooked the law, just like they overlooked the law for illegal aliens coming in our country. So I get what she's saying is that, one side, they're breaking the law like her brother did. Now, I don't know what her brother did, but if he's getting out of jail and she's not talking 40 years or something in prison, then that means he didn't do anything that involved violence and firearms and stuff like that potentially. So, you got a brother going and trying to apply for things. You got these people that literally can get food stamps and everything as if they never committed a crime. And both crimes are on the books as illegal activity. I just don't understand how we accept. It's crazy to me. Maybe because I'm not a politician and I'm not like in the weeds that maybe I'm missing something. This is not hard whatsoever. You cannot come into our country illegally. Come through the port of entry. If you have an asylum claim, seek asylum in your own country. Or you come through the port of entry and we'll evaluate your asylum claim. That's it. It's illegal to do all the other stuff and you know it. Y'all climbing under fences, going through tunnels and jumping over walls and all, going through the Rio Grande.
I'm a legal immigrant to a foreign country.
You can't do that because at the same time, while y'all doing that, you got people waiting in line and paying money to have citizenship, to be able to have an opportunity to be in America. And they get wait in line and pay money and go through the legal system, and you just walked over here yesterday. And they had to work for it, and you get food stamps. That's just, it will never make sense to me. Not just to me, it just don't make sense whatsoever. It's completely unfair. And anybody that think that that's fair is a lunatic. Because you, like I say, you got people, just say somebody's coming from South America. You got people who actually apply for citizenship, come over here with a work visa. They're actively going through the system the right way. You got people actually coming through the port of entry in America, seeking asylum the right way. Coming from the same country where some of these people are just breaking in our country. Why can they do it and y'all can't do it? Come on. Come on, y'all. Anyway, shout out to young lady Michaela. We'll put links in there so y'all go follow her. I'll see y'all on the next one. I'm out of here.
Guys. So we've got a lot going on with our state. We were recently ranked #1 for economy 2 years in a row by CNBC. We're ranked #1 in education 2 years in a row by U.S. News and World Report. We've been ranked #1 for public higher education for the last 6 years, and we've not increased tuition 1 red cent since I've been governor, and we're going to keep it that way. We have crime rate at a 50-year low. We have the lowest. So all
no
the
one
debt
is
that
grooming and
Florida's
castrating
accumulated
kids
its
in
entire
Florida.
History, from the 1840s till I became governor, we've paid off 36% of it in the last 5.5 years, and we now have the lowest per capita debt anywhere in the United States of America, which is great. We're #1 in new business formations, #1 in tourism, and #1 in net in-migration. In fact, you look at since 2020, we have the most net in-migration of any state, and it's coming from states, like Minnesota, quite frankly, with Waltz, Illinois, Chicago, California, New York, New Jersey, you name it. People have come and voted with their feet, and so we're proud of that. We're proud of what we've been able to accomplish. Yet I think what they're doing, and we've seen this be successful in other parts of the country, it's like when you have a venue, that's going to attract people, but then they're having all this other stuff that's there that people are going to want to go and be a part of, and it's really going to be, I think, a place that is going to do a lot of traffic, a lot of business, and it's going to attract a lot of people throughout the community. So I think it's going to be a big, big success. In 1 minute, we're going to officially do the ceremonial.
One man's socialism
check.
is another man's
I've been being
neighborliness.
asked about this, and I haven't really said
Really?
as much, but
Stay on your side of the
this
fence,
waltz
neighbor.
from Minnesota. Here's the thing. As Florida governor, I learn a lot about other states because when people leave those states, they tell me why they left those states. And I remember during COVID, the absolute frustration that people had moving from Minnesota because of how they were being treated. This is a guy that's out there, he's got this line in the stump speech saying, our neighbors can do what they want, mind your own damn business. Fine, then why did you set up a snitch hotline for neighbors to report on their neighbors for violating your draconian COVID restrictions? That's not minding your own damn business. That's government overreach. And he'll talk about, things about, he'll say, we should, make healthcare choices. That's your choice. Fine, great. Then why did you impose a mandate to take an experimental mRNA COVID shot on your people? He did that for all state employees. I don't think it was constitutional. Certainly isn't giving them an option for something that just came on the market. Are you kidding me? I mean, this is just absolutely ridiculous. And then on it goes about the policies that were done that have given them a net decrease in population over the last 3 years. And I really believe that I can cite you the statistics that we're #1 here, #1 there, but just watch how people vote with their feet.
Wasn't constitutional for Biden after thousands quit their government jobs.
That's meaningful. That's telling you something. And if people that have roots in a state are picking up and leaving, and then they're telling people like me why they left, and it was because of those bad policies, then that really, really speaks volumes. So to lose population like that, I think was a huge, huge problem. And so this is something that I've been being told about for many, many years. I never thought it would end up where someone would make the misjudgment of actually putting him on a ticket. But he didn't get as much fanfare as New York and Illinois and California. That's true. There's also just not as many people in those states. But I can tell you the folks, and a lot of them are not in this part of Florida. A lot of them are on the west coast of Florida. But being able to get kids in school was impossible, for those months in COVID. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous what they were doing. They actually have a policy where they're a sanctuary state for gender surgery for minors. So you can have a kid go with no parent consent to Minnesota and get this stuff done. And I'm just thinking, like, how is that standing for parents' rights? So I don't expect you to see national media expose this at all. I think they're creating a much different image. But this is something that we've been getting information on for many years, just from the people that move out of Minnesota and have come to Florida. And I'll tell you, I always ask people when they tell me they moved, I said, are you glad you did? And they say they are. So that's that. All right, let's do the track presentation.
Hello?
Hello, Betty. This is the Black Hood speaking.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Benny. Joe Biden won the black vote in 2020. Did you hear? Because black voters really love Joe Biden, and they love black culture. Joe Biden loves black culture. He's an integral part of black culture. It's like the way he wanted to integrate with Corn Pop when he got out razor blades and chains in order to beat a young black boy from the wrong side of the tracks because he had too much pomade in his hair, which is exactly what Joe Biden did. But nonetheless, this is what Joe Biden says to iconic black artists like LL Cool J at official receptions at the White House.
Two of the great artists of our time representing the groundbreaking legacy of hip-hop in America, LL Cool J. By the way, that boy's man's got biceps bigger than my thighs.
Cool, Joe. Hey, LLJ Cool J. That boy is a strapping young man. Got it? Joe Biden, definitely not racist. Yeah, it's not working anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Eyes on 2024, black voters sour on Biden's support for black voters that helped Joe Biden secure the Democratic nomination. Shows that it is waning. Waning is one way to say it. Now Joe Biden is disapproved of by black voters by 34%, which is astonishingly high, by the way, for this community. Black men are now, vast majority, voting for Trump. And by vast majority, we mean simply the plurality. 41% of black men say they're going to vote for Trump. What? NBC News polling found that Biden's net approval rating among black voters has dropped nearly 20 points, from plus 46 points to plus 27 points. Latest survey finds 61% of black voters approve Biden versus 34%. I was concerned about President Biden. What has he done for black people? Who were the big reason for him winning? You hear all that noise coming from the other side, and you think, oh, same old, people begging for our votes, but nobody's doing anything for us after they get it. A black voter told NBC News from Ohio. Well, that does indeed seem like a big problem. Will black voters vote for Trump? NBC News says, still, voters expressing discontent with Biden aren't necessarily going to vote for Donald Trump, except for, unless you go ask them if they're going to vote for Donald Trump, like this.
You know, with Trump. Yeah, I with Trump. I don't know what everybody got against him. Yo, he was making the breadwinners, you heard? I'm a Democrat too, but okay, we Trump. We need Trump back in office right now.
I'm going to be honest with you. I with Trump. To be honest with you, bro, for real, Trump really did this shit. And I like him because he's about money. It wasn't about no politics. He wanted to make America great again. Through Trump.
That boy Trump be making sure to get their bread. I ain't gonna lie. I'm thinking Trump for life. Trump for life. I ain't gonna lie.
Love Donald Trump. Trump wanted us to get off our and get some money. Trump 2024.
It's the truth. You mean everybody hold a piece of money, you feel me?
Trump really up ballers. So Trump running it how it's supposed to be ran. And people just can't take it. And he putting out facts in front of the people. He ain't lying to the people. People just don't want to accept the truth.
Trump, man, we rocking with you. Love you, Trump. My dog. Uncle T, what's up?
Trump put the money in our pocket.
Uncle T, what's up?
Economically, he put America first, so it makes sense. I like to place people first.
Trump 2024, my brother.
They know they can't get him for none of the real shit. We get it, gang.
I ain't used to like that, but now, bro, I realize that he meant well for the country and shit, bro. We need that back. Free Trump. Trump 2024.
They tricked y'all dumb to get Trump out the chair, and now look how that done backfired on y'all dumb. Trump got my back. Trump for life.
Down
Trump?
He showed us love, and he didn't stop. 2024 Trump. Trump 2024. And we from Baltimore.
I ain't gonna lie. Trump, my mother, dog.
As much as they talk about Trump, he's probably the best thing for America right now, no cap. Really.
Trump. My man Trump. He's gangsta. I like him. I love him. Make America great again. Let's go.
Trump 2024, Trump 2028, Trump 2032. Man, listen, Trump for life.
My boy Shaney out there getting these interviews. Go follow his channel, Shaney Rich. Ladies and gentlemen, if that video isn't scary enough to the regime that is propping up Joe Biden, literally with duct tape and with hopes, dreams, prayers, and salt, at this point, this will absolutely push them over the edge. Black Lives Matter co-founder endorses Trump. Huh? I mean, what? Black Lives Matter Rhode Island chapter co-founder Mark Fisher has publicly endorsed Donald Trump for the 2024 presidential election. The endorsement, breaking from the typical left-leaning political affiliations associated with Black Lives Matter movement, could significantly shift the group's political stance. Fisher's endorsement stems from his perception that the Democrat Party's failures to adequately represent and support the black communities. During a candid interview with Fox News, he expressed his delusions with the Democratic Party, citing the duplicity of the Democrats and the hypocrisy as key reasons to shift his alliance. My God. Well, let's have a listen to the man. Take it away.
Black Lives Matter Rhode Island, Mark Fisher. Mark, thanks so much for joining the program. This is my favorite story of the day because it identifies with what I've seen in the barbershop. All the brothers, for some reason right now, are turning tides right now. And I just wonder, what is the big reason?
I think personally, it's the duplicity of the Democrats, the hypocrisy. We're not stupid. The brothers are not stupid. We understand when someone's for us and when someone is not. And it's obvious that the Democratic Party is not for us.
I think Malcolm X told you this a long time ago.
Their policies actually strike at the heart of the black family and the nuclear family.
Yeah, so, you were a part of Black Lives Matter. You founded it there. And now you're saying, you're not saying the entire Republican Party. You're saying Donald Trump. So what is it about Donald Trump? Is it the economics? You noted the black family. What is it going to take for him to shore up this support amongst black voters?
Well, I just think that it's going to take information. A lot of people are misinformed. They don't really understand because they don't educate themselves on Donald Trump as a person and his history. But if they do that, and it's going to take, leaders, educated leaders, getting the word out there, I think that it'll happen on its own and it'll be organic because personally, I love the man. I mean, how could you not like if a real man? How could you not relate to someone like that?
Yeah, he watches every morning, so I'm sure he's cheering as you're saying this. We looked at some of the polls for Trump over Biden in the battleground states. In 2020, it was 8%. Now in 2023, he has 22%. And that's just not black men. So the election is right around the corner. If you had the opportunity to talk to the former president, I'm sure he's watching right now, what would you tell him?
Call me on my cell phone, man. I'll stop for Trump.
Mark, I'm fascinated by you. Why did you end up leaving Black Lives Matter? Or are you still affiliated with it?
No. I'm still affiliated with it. All day. Because the thing about it is my message that I preach and that I tout is unity. It's a message of unity. It's unity driven. I want to bring together all the marginalized groups from the margins and bring them to the center because we're stronger together as a one nation indivisible under God.
Yeah. Mark Fisher, I think all Americans can go with a message of unity. We thank you so much for coming on the program. I hope you'll come back and check in with us.
I appreciate you. Keep up the good work, Lawrence.
This is a generational change. This is the realignment that they are so scared of. Populists versus globalists. The globalist is going to prioritize the foreign populations of the third world in mass waves of migration in order to reduce the value of you and your contribution to society. And that disproportionately affects black people. Where are the criminal migrants moving to? Places like Chicago, places like New York. That's a fact. Sanctuary cities. And the black residents, we've covered this time and time again, the black residents of those cities are furious about that. They're calling it out. That's what's happening. It's the Democrat Party that is enforcing those policies on this population, and we're standing up for them saying that's wrong, right? That's plainly and clearly wrong, and that's why you see, of course, interviews like that and headlines like this. Headline like this: BLM leader endorses Trump as Biden support among black voters dwindle. This is Mark Fisher's social media page, Black Lives Matter executive director. And his last retweet was Donald Trump saying, usually you have to shake things up to do something of consequence. 1998. Uh-oh. Nice. Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, we could show you clip after clip after clip after clip after clip of not your typical Democrat Party voters voting for Donald Trump, coming over to the Republican Party because of Donald Trump, and more importantly, because of the sanctuary city policies. Here's a good example. Black residents in New York blast the city's sanctuary city status after illegals take up their food. Why do we have to take the brunt of everything? Says this black community in New York. Black voters stocks news in silence after endorsing Trump live on air. Happens again and again and again and again. I mean, you can't even scratch the surface.
Because you voted
all black
for
communities, poor communities in Atlanta, surrounding Atlanta, coming out to cheer Donald Trump as he drives through their neighborhoods after being indicted. You can't stop it. You can't stop it. This guy, quite flamboyant, saying, make America great again, voting Donald Trump. What kind of a world, what kind of a realignment do we have now? What kind of a realignment do we have now? A rigged system, the rigged system that Donald Trump has preached about and talked about, is now in total collapse. And Donald Trump is polling outside of the margin of fraud. And so now we have a situation where the regime is going to have to play a deeply desperate game or give up power. And it's going to be wonderful to have people who care about this nation back in power once again. Populism is popular with all people. We are for the American people first. And that's truly what matters. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. Stay based.
Hate us if you want, but we aren't voting on skin color. We're voting on getting this country back on track, getting some money back in our pockets, and getting these prices back down. No cap.
There's two things I am not going to be, and that's broke and dumb. These past 4 years, I've been one of those things steady, and it ain't the latter. Now, in 2020, I was both of those things. I was a twofer. But this time, you don't have to worry about me being no twofer. You ain't got to worry about it. Because I need my problem solved. I'm not focused on making no history. And if that's all you voting for is history, hang it up. The way we trending, we finna be history. The most population to file bankruptcy. I don't care nothing about how you say stuff. I need my problem solved. And if you gonna solve my problem, I'm with you.
And now, finally, kneel. Take my hand and confess to Russian collusion.
He did it to them.
Hey, you know something? You're a real pain in the neck.
Say, make America great again. It could never be done without you.
U.S. citizen, you can vote from here, here, and even here using an app.
Blessings to you and your family. Now, this is the type of speech that just brings a smile to your face. Thank God more and more people are finally opening their eyes. Trump 2024.
My name is Jade. I am a former Democrat. Unlike Kamala Harris, I'm an actual real-life black woman. And I'm a former Democrat who is currently registered Republican.
Welcome.
I stand here before you today because I'm tired. I'm tired of the Democrats using the generational trauma of my people to garner votes. They invoke fear. They tell me I'm oppressed. They tell me I'm less than. They tell me I'm not good enough. And they tell me that my white brothers and sisters in Christ are my enemy. No. They are not. As a follower of Jesus Christ, Ephesians 5:11 tells me I must expose the works of the enemy. And the enemy is telling me that don't worry that I can't pay my bills, that I'm working 6 days a week this week and I'm tired. And I went to school and I have a career. I'm doing worse under this administration than in Donald Trump's administration, but I'm told to be afraid of a man who made my life better.
Yep.
How does that work? Make it make sense. During COVID, I knew more of my white guy friends that lost their jobs than me and my black girlfriends. We are the same in this country. All these Americans want the same thing. We want safety. We want prosperity. We want peace. And the Democrats keep going back and look, check it out, right? I honor my ancestors and the people who fought for us to be in this room here today. No one is discounting what my people went through, but honor them by getting past it and invoking forgiveness in this culture. I'm so tired of being told I need to be afraid. I'm so tired that I need to be told all the time that I have to vote for the Democrats who have done nothing positive for my life at all. My life is totally worse than it was during the Trump administration. Yet I kept having, you must vote for the Democrats. We're told this as black people since we were a child. Let's honor our ancestors by doing better and honor them, because they're rolling over in their graves hearing the fact that Kamala Harris is having Megan Thee Stallion twerk and showing our bodies as these like just vessels of lust. That's not cool. These women out here are being told that Donald Trump is like their enemy, when really Kamala Harris opening up the border, look what happened to Laken Riley. She's a woman. She was a woman just like I am. No woman, black or white, wants that to happen to her. All of these people whose kids are dying, the black moms, the white moms, they all cry the same color tears. So let's move past this. Let's vote for Donald Trump so we can all be prosperous again. Let's get out of this fear, this rage, and this anger, because it comes from the devil. So hear me, black folks. Hear me, white folks. We are so much more alike than we are different. We need to forgive each other. We need to help each other. And I don't owe the Democrats anything. They owe me. They're to serve us. They're public servants. Stop putting them on a pedestal. Make them work for us.
Biden's stock market record so far is the second worst since Jimmy Carter. By Matt Egan, CNN Business. Updated 3:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday, November 8, 2022. New York. CNN Business. The stock market under President Biden started with a boom, but it heads into the midterm elections looking more like a bust. As of Monday, the S&P 500 has fallen by 1.2% since Biden took office in January 2021. That marks the second worst performance during a president's first 656 calendar days in office since former President Jimmy Carter, according to CFRA research. Out of the 13 presidents since 1953, Biden ranks 9th in terms of stock market performance through this point in office, besting only former presidents George W. Bush, minus 32.8%, Carter, minus 8.9%, Richard Nixon, minus 17.2%, and John F. Kennedy, minus 2.1%, according to CFRA. By the contrast,
loony left
Biden's two
continually
immediate predecessors lies about surging stock
economy.
markets as they headed into their first midterm election. The S&P 500 climbed 52.2% during the first 656 calendar days in office for former President Barack Obama and 23.9% under former President Donald Trump, according to CFRA. The struggles in the market are largely linked to high inflation, which has caused the Federal Reserve to launch a barrage of punishing interest rate hikes. Of course, the stock market is not the economy, nor should it be viewed as a barometer to govern towards. Good news for Main Street is at times treated as bad news by Wall Street. Despite the recent losses in the market, the jobs market remains historically strong. The unemployment rate is near half-century lows and total employment has returned to pre-COVID levels. Worst year for stocks since 2008. And it's worth noting that stocks surged during the early days of the Biden era. The S&P 500 spiked 27% in 2021 as the economy bounced back from COVID-19. The first year was stupendous. And then we gave a lot of it back, said Sam Stovall, chief investment strategist at CFRA Research. Slammed by the Fed's all-out war on inflation, the S&P 500 is down 20% this year, on track for its worst year since 2008. The underperformance of the stock market under Biden matters because many Americans have exposure to stocks, either directly or indirectly, in their 401k and pension plans. This year's sell-off has wiped out trillions of dollars from nest eggs, 401k plans, and college savings plans. The market turmoil is also denting consumer confidence. A CNN poll found that 75% of likely voters feel the economy is in recession. Some of the reasons for the 2022 market sell-off were largely out of Biden's control, including Russia's invasion of Ukraine, COVID-related supply chain headaches, and the belated Fed response to inflation. Other factors, like whether Biden overstimulated an already strong economy with his American Rescue Plan, will be debated by economists for many years to come. A paper from the San Francisco Fed argues fiscal support may have helped boost inflation. Is the worst over for stocks? It's possible the stock market bounces back from the recent losses, especially if the United States avoids a recession or inflation cools enough to let the Fed stop slamming the brakes on the economy. Goldman Sachs told clients on Monday it's very plausible the Fed tames inflation without triggering a recession. On the other hand, retirement accounts could shrink even further if a recession does materialize. We don't think it's over, said Stovall. There is a good possibility the bottom is not in. Presidents often get too much credit when things go right and too much blame when things go wrong. But the lackluster market performance under Biden does reflect the broader economic challenges weighing on the minds of voters this midterm election.
Le who? The her.
Let's get retarded. Everybody, let's get retarded. Everybody, let's get retarded. Everybody, let's get retarded. Come on, shit, let's get retarded. Come on, let's get retarded. Let's get retarded. Look. Put your hand in the air and try to break your wrist. Then across your chest and try to bite your ear. And go bang, 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 bang. Put your hand in the air and try to break your wrist. Then across your chest and try to bite your ear. And go bang, 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 bang. Get retarded. Everybody, let's get retarded. Everybody, let's get retarded. Everybody, let's get retarded. Everybody, let's get retarded. I'm a special ass nigga stink. All my ugly ass niggas stink. All my handicapped niggas stink. All my special ass niggas stink. All my ugly ass niggas stink. All my handicapped niggas stink. Put your hand in the air and try to break your wrist. Then across your chest and try to bite your ear. And go bang, 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 bang. Put your hand in the air and try to break your wrist. Then across your chest and try to bite your ear. And go bang, Get retarded, everybody. Let's get retarded, everybody. Let's get retarded, everybody. Let's get retarded, everybody. Let's get retarded.